different style mount. I don't like it because it's very tall and I can see the camera in my field of view in my helmet, but if this is what will give me good looking footage, then I'm just gonna have to deal with it until I can think of something better. But I'm at 1,590 miles. I've had the bike for 2.5 months now, so I'm gonna do a little extended review what I think about it so far. And if that says anything about what I feel about this bike, it is phenomenal. I love everything about it. There's probably 0 things I would change, aside from, you know, what I changed, which was just cosmetic stuff and then an exhaust, because every stock bike on the market nowadays needs an exhaust because of some stupid emissions laws. But as far as the 2021 MT09 goes, would not change a single thing. Quick shifter on it, perfect. The dash on it, super easy to read. Does not matter what kind of weather you're riding in. If it's sunny, if it's overcast, if it's nighttime. If it's nighttime, it's not too bright. If it's nighttime, it's not too bright, so it's not going to blind you. The handlebar in the seating position, perfect. Would not change anything about it. This bike is so comfortable to ride. I have taken a few longer rides, and I will say the seat on it, not the greatest. After about an hour and a half, 2 hours, it starts to get a little bit uncomfortable. But for a $9,400 bike, so 10 grand out the door after dealer fees and all that stuff, would not change a single thing about this bike. The clutch feel on it, great. I mean, I only ever use it in first gear, so can't really say anything about that. This bike is fast, but it's not too fast. I'm riding this back and forth to work, taking it on just a few little short trips and then hitting twisty roads, back roads, stuff like that. At least for the kind of twisty roads we have here in North Texas, and cannot beat it. I mean, this thing, I've been wanting an MT09 for a while. I started wanting an MT09 when they were still called FZ09s here in the US, but once I saw the 21s, I mean, the headlight on first impression wasn't the prettiest. It was not a headlight that I particularly liked when I first saw it in pictures, but I've seen it in person, and now that I've painted those front fairings, I mean, it works. It fits the style of this bike, which is aggressive, I guess, dark side of Japan, whatever the hell that means. It's right. Everything about this bike that I have seen for daily riding and normal use, and even just sometimes sport use, is just so right. The rider modes, I think you could be a new rider and throw this thing into D mode 4, I believe it is. Let's see. Yeah, so D mode 4. That's right up there. You can get aggressive on it. I mean, if I did that kind of pulling on D mode 2, ooh, that's wrong. I'm not comfortable riding wheelies yet, but if you're a new rider and you're worried about, oh, it's got 120 horsepower, you can throw it into D mode 4, and from what I've seen, the bike's not going to let you get too crazy. I mean, yeah, you're going to get about as crazy as a 900cc engine will let you with the horsepower and the torque that it offers. Yeah, you can get crazy on it, but throw it into D mode 4 if you're a new rider and just send it. This thing is right. The tank on it, it feels good on your knees. It looks good. You're comfortable to ride on it, but as far as fuel consumption goes, yeah, this bike's not quite the greatest at that. I'm getting about 100 miles a tank, and I mean, I'm not pushing it super, super hard all the time, but I'm also not babying it. I mean, I'm not holding it in second and third gear for my entire trip. Bike does see 6th gear quite often, but even then still, I mean, 100 miles to a tank of gas, you don't want to take any longer trips with this bike. You'll be trying to find gas stations every hour if you're taking a longer trip. I mean, depending on how fast you're riding and where you're riding at, and your rider style. I mean, if you're just riding it normally, I guess you would say, about as normal as you can ride a sport naked like this, you'll get about 100 miles a tank, especially with the exhaust. I mean, I had stock exhaust on it, which was the first 600 miles. I did the braking service. Did the braking service and then put the exhaust on. I think the highest mileage I saw at a tank of gas, even with stock exhaust, was 120 miles. I mean, that was riding in like Demo 3 and Demo 4 and just trying to get comfortable on the bike again. When I bought this thing, I hadn't ridden for 2 years, so I wanted to get comfortable on 2 wheels for commuting and not around a whole lot of other bikers. You know, just trying to make sure I don't get ran off the road. But I wanted to get comfortable on the bike, so I didn't really push the limits on it for the first 600 miles, which they say to do anyway for the first service. So I did that, and riding very controlled and not how this bike's meant to be ridden. I was still getting 120 miles to a tank of gas, so that 49 miles per gallon, I don't know what the hell they were doing to see that. I mean, maybe it was on the dyno where they had no sort of wind resistance, or the rider didn't weigh anything, and I mean, you're not seeing that kind of mileage on the street. I hate to break it to you. The grips are not the greatest. They work. You can hold on to them, but they're not the most comfortable. If you start pushing the bike hard in D mode 1 or D mode 2, and the wheels start coming up, you will notice that that your hands can slip off the grip, especially if you're riding on a hot day like today. Right now it's 94 degrees. You'll start to notice that the grips are a little slicker than they used to be. There we go. Do love about this bike more than anything else is the quick shifter. I mean, it's just so smooth. Don't ever have to worry about getting false neutrals. I don't think I've ever had one between a first and second shift and missing second gear. I don't think it's ever happened to me, and I'm at 1,600 miles now, and I'm always using the quick shifter. I touch the clutch for first gear, but that quick shifter, and I think when you change it between modes, so D mode 1 is aggressive. You actually feel a jolt between shifts, but D mode 2 seems to be my ideal, just riding on the street. It'll let me do a wheelie, but it won't let it go up too far. Quick shifter's hard and fast, but it's not jolting you around. D mode 3 is really smooth. The quick shifter on it matches perfectly. It is a very smooth, very linear shift, but it's just not quick enough for me. And then D mode 4 is just, holy crap, it's too soft, it's too slow, it's meant for rain. That's another thing on this bike, the suspension on it. So I know a lot of people complain about on the first and the second gen MT09s, the suspension was just brutal on the riders. I don't know what weight group it was set up to handle, but there was a lot of people talking about wanting to change out the springs and change out the forks up front to get something more comfortable to ride on. This bike, I mean, this suspension is set up seat. It's not, you know, too stiff where I feel like I'm standing on top of a 2x4. So I do really enjoy the suspension on this bike. I'm really ready to get a license plate put back on this thing so I can ride it back and forth to work every day and not have to constantly worry about police officers. I'm really shifting like crazy on this one. I think I'm shifting at about 6,500 RPM. I mean, it still has loads of power. And I'm shifting that low to kind of try and keep the front wheel on the ground. This bike in the higher RPMs is a damn $10,000 unicycle. But overall, for first 1,600 miles on this bike, I mean, it's a phenomenal bike. There's just so much to love about it, and at the price point, you can't beat it. This bike, to me, feels very refined, almost, I guess you would say Ducati MT Augusta style riding and fit and finish, but half the price of them, if not more. I mean, yeah, this thing's not going to have the power of the Ducati Street Fighter V4, or hell, even the Ducati or the MT Augusta Brutale 1000. But I think last time I checked, it's a $30,000 motorcycle. I will gladly buy 3 of these before I go and buy something like that. This is like, if you want to stun it, set up. I mean, just turn the ABS off, turn the wheelie control off. This thing's ready to stun. If you wanted to track it, throw the track tires on it, and I think you would be pretty well set up. I mean, yeah, you would want to change suspension somewhere going down the road, I bet, but it's a very capable bike right out of the box. Or if you want to just street ride, like what I'm doing right now, just use it as a commuter. This thing is perfectly set up for that. You might want to get the SP so that you can get the cruise control if you're doing a longer commute, but I mean, my commute's 11 minutes, and I don't think I stay on one single patch road long enough that doesn't have any stop signs or anything that I would want to use the cruise control functions for. This thing is just set up exactly how I would like it. Plus that sound never gets old. So, man.
Hey, we've come to the conclusion that we think your name is racist.